I really messed up on this project. When I first moved into my home, I painted this freshly plastered wall. I was still new to DIY, and even though I knew you're supposed to add a mist coat to fresh plaster, I thought, how important can it be? Turns out, very important, and all the paint is flaking off. So I need to remove this paint, add a mist coat, and then paint it again. But whilst I'm here, I'm going to completely redo the bathroom, so welcome to my new follow-along project, where you get to find out all the things that go well, and more importantly, all the things that don't. Because it's normal to make mistakes and come across problems, and I'm going to show you how I overcome them to help you learn DIY, but also to help you keep trying when things go wrong. Like every project, I started by emptying the room and getting everything out of the way that I didn't need, including unscrewing things from the wall. These are the tools and materials I picked up, including some plaster paint, some paint for the skirting boards and door frames, some bathroom paint for the walls, some wipes for when I inevitably make a mess, something to scrape the paint off with, a paint pot, a dust sheet, and something to fill in the holes. The first thing that I'll be doing is removing this paint. This wasn't supposed to happen. Whenever you have a freshly plastered wall, you can't just stick paint on the top of it. But why? The fresh plaster is very absorbent and it sucks out all of the moisture in the paint. Because of that, the paint doesn't bond correctly to the plaster and it peels off just like this. So that was my first job. I used this flat edge scraping tool. It worked fairly well, but I did make some holes, so I'll have to fill those in later. It was only this wall that had the problem, so I cut in at the 4 edges to make sure that the paint removal didn't take the paint off the adjoining walls. But to be totally honest, there was some mixed success. I realised quickly that this shelf was going to be in my way, so I had to remove this too. If you're struggling to get in awkward spaces like this, you can get a longer drill bit that makes this easier. It's typically about this point in the project that I think, oh, do you know, I really should have put down a dust sheet. So it's time to tidy up the stripped paint, some of which was stuck onto the floor. And to get out my filler, which looks too much like frosting for my liking, oh, looks delicious. And fill in some of the holes that I made. I've learned my lesson. Every project needs to start with sticking a dust sheet down. And since I'll be sanding today, that's exactly how I started. But putting this dust sheet down had the same energy as trying to change a king duvet by yourself. And I was not loving it. This isn't the only kind of floor covering that you can get. A good alternative for wooden floors is a sticky plastic that attaches itself to the boards. Only temporarily though. Yesterday I filled in these holes that I made by mistake, so today I'm just sanding them flat. I used 150 grit sandpaper. Now this is the important bit I missed the first time I painted this wall. I've created this mist coat by adding some emulsion paint with some water. You can do a 50-50 mix, but for more accurate mixes you can get a viscosity cup where the paint falls through and you time it over a minute. This way you know it's been watered down not too much and not too little. Because this coat is very watery, you'll find it going all over the floor. I quickly touched up a couple of bits in the ceiling that I accidentally scraped off yesterday. That's the mist coat done. Oh man, I tried so hard. This has to be one of my favourite hacks. I can never get these holes straight for it to suck away the dust, so I use some dowels, but you can even use some pencils to make sure that it's aligned correctly every time. As part of this bathroom refurb, I want to improve my skirting boards. This was previously painted with an oil-based gloss paint, and because of that it's been going yellow over time, but using water-based it doesn't. To make this possible, I first had to sand it down, clean off all of the dust. I'm then going to use this multi-surface paint as a primer. I've never used it before and I wanted to give it a go, so let's find out if it's any good together. To save my wooden floors, I use this folder trick. Just slide it underneath the skirting board and it stops any paint from going on your floor. This is great for people who don't enjoy cutting in. The skirting also goes underneath the bathtub and I had quite the fight. The bath one, it weighs like a ton. What was I going to do? Can you imagine how hard it was to sand this skirting board? With this paint, you could do the skirting boards and the wall with the same paint. My verdict is it's very convenient, but I think there's more affordable alternatives. This weird part of my bathroom is actually the door frame. I painted it blue when I was feeling all young and hip about 2 years ago, and now every time I look at it whilst I'm in the bath, I'm like, ew. But I do love my blue door frames on the outside, so I'm only painting the inside. What wonky line? You saw nothing. I don't like to watch paint dry as much as the next person, so whilst I wait I'm going to replace this windowsill. Again, another interesting stylistic choice. I painted it black. What was I thinking? This was a real pain to get out because the saw couldn't go all the way to the back, so I had to take it out in little pieces. Underneath this shelf is the back wall to my house. My house was built in 1880, so they've got very old, very thick walls. That's also why there's lots of bits of rubble and stone underneath here that I vacuumed away. This was when I was very grateful for my previous organisation of putting down this dust sheet because it got everywhere. I can't recommend enough getting a vacuum specifically designed for DIY. Normal household vacuums just can't tolerate the amount of dust you create when you're renovating. I use this hack to get straight lines every time. I'm always so overconfident when it comes to sawing straight lines. I think, how hard can it be? I'll just hold the saw steady. But no, every single time it comes out wonky. So this is how I do it now. I use my speed square as a guide for the saw. It runs up the side of the metal and it comes out perfect every time. When I get close to the end, I like to do this bit manually to stop the blade from ripping out the edge of the wood. This new shelf is thicker than the windowsill I had there before, so I have to remove some of this material. I laid the shelf down in its final position and I used this as a guide to work out where I needed to cut. Then I could just pop off the excess plasterboard. The metal beading around the edge of the plasterboard was going to be a little bit more tricky, however, and would need a special attachment made just for metal. So take it from me, as someone who's learned the hard way more than once, that if you use the wood bits on metal, it just ruins the teeth, and you end up needing to buy a new one. Specialist bits might be more pricey, but it's definitely worth it to get the job done. That said, this did not start out well. DIY is easier when you don't have to prop yourself up in the bathtub. But here we are. I had real trouble getting through this metal yesterday because it was vibrating. And if the tool's vibrating and the metal's vibrating, nothing is getting cut. I did manage to get through it eventually, however, and I moved on to trying to solve these tiles. I have to remove these bits so my new windowsill fits. I needed to cut out just a small section and I didn't want to crack the entire tile. So I used this tile saw to very gently saw through it. This is a really sped up video. This took an absolute age to get through, but it was really satisfying when I did. After a quick clean up, I thought it might be a good time to try and see if my shelf fits. And I was so delighted when it started to go. Oh, no, wait. Why aren't you going? I thought this is an outrage. I gave the shelf a slight trim so that it would slide in better. And since the edges were hiding under the plasterboard, it didn't matter too much if it was a little bit more narrow. I thought for a second it wasn't quite enough, but I moved out a stone that was in the way and voila. But now here's the real head scratcher. How am I going to join these two pieces? For a start, it's 1 and 1.5 inches too long at the front, so I'm going to cut this out of the back. But before I can do that, I need to get rid of all of this old glue because it's stopping the shelf from lying flush to the back. Once I cut it down with my circular saw, I tested it again to see if it would fit, and I felt pretty chuffed, to be honest. It was slightly proud on one of the sides, but that's nothing that can't be hidden with a bit of silicone. This is why they say, do your best and cork the rest. But this was really the bit that I wasn't too sure about. How do I join these two bits of wood together? I took these small screws and I slid them in between. I then pressed the two pieces of wood together so the nail would create a mark on the same place on either side. I then made a hole large enough for a dowel. I double checked I was using a drill bit the correct size before committing fully. This process is known as edge joining. You can also get a jig for this. The dowels and the glue should make this look like one continuous piece of wood. I removed all of these extra bits of wood with the end of the hammer. Otherwise they're going to get stuck in the join and not allow the two pieces of wood to fit neatly together. I also added plenty of glue in between the two pieces of wood. I moved the glue around so it was touching the whole surface. This allows for a stronger join. Now this is the moment of truth. If these haven't been aligned properly, then it's going to look a little bit daft. I very gently tapped it in place with the hammer. I did this on the back of the shelf, the part that doesn't show, so I wouldn't damage it. I clamped these together and left them to dry. And the verdict was, it came out really well. There was still a small gap in the wood, so I'm going to show you how I solved this problem. And we'll also find out together if the shelf actually fits. Do your best and cork the rest is definitely true for me today. And I'm going to level with you that the two pieces of wood were not level with each other. It wasn't far off, mind you. It was about 1 millimeter, but it did mean that I had to sand down the surface to make sure that it was flush. This was, however, super easy to solve. I just used my belt sander, which is very powerful, to level out the wood, and then my orbital sander with different grits to smooth out the wood surface. First bits of wood I've ever joined together, first shelf I've ever made. Boom. I had problems, but I solved them. Before I set my new shelf in place, I'm going to put a coat of paint on this wall. I started by sanding down all of the holes that I previously filled. I love doing the painting in stages like this because you can get on with other things whilst it's drying. This is my second mist coat before I add some bathroom paint. I find the best thing to help painting go faster is dancing and touch me. Karaoke! I'm finally fixing a mistake I made. I chipped some of this yellow paint on the feature wall in my bathroom, but here's the thing. I didn't keep any of the yellow paint for touch-ups, which was frustrating because I was so sure that I'd kept some. So I'm finally able to cover it up with this beautiful terracotta. After having chipped paint for months and finally deciding to do this, I then found the yellow paint in my basement. Been looking for it for months. For months! So after all of that, I could have touched it up. But this was my next problem. How do I get behind the toilet? Taking a toilet away from the wall is actually fairly straightforward. It's often screwed into the floor and screwed into the wall in the cistern, so you just have to remove these screws and then you should be able to pull it away. This can also be handy to know how to do if you're cutting vinyl or laying flooring in your bathroom and don't want to cut around the base of the toilet. I pulled this out just a few inches so that I could paint behind it. Next, it was time for me to set the shelf on my windowsill. I had a bunch of leftover postcrete that I wanted to use up, so I used this to fill the gap between the shelf and the wall. This will give it some better support. I also glued it in place to the window frame, but this windowsill isn't done yet. Just because it looks tasty doesn't mean you can eat it. This is boiled linseed oil and it can be a fantastic way to finish wood surfaces. It's normally inexpensive and allows you to keep the original colour of your wood and to see that beautiful grain. Before I could apply this to my shelf, I had to sand down the wood in a process called raising the grain, which is where you rub the top of the wood surface with a damp cloth and it causes the wood fibres to swell. When you've done that, you can sand them down and it gives you a much smoother surface. After it was sanded and oiled, I finished the edges. Of all of the DIYs that I know how to do, this is one of the ones that I'm not particularly good at. It looks a little bit messy. I always think I'll make it look better by evening it out with my finger. Nope, now it looks a bit worse. Whilst that's drying, I'm going to add the top coat of paint. I'm using paint specifically designed for bathrooms. It's great for areas of high humidity because the paint won't absorb moisture from the air. I also needed to touch up the window surround after installing the new shelf. One of my favourite parts of a project is when you can take a step back and say, okay, we're getting somewhere. Drilling into tiles is one of the scariest DIYs. Or at least that's what I used to think. It can actually be really straightforward when you know how. I need to install this mirror next to my basin, so let me show you the steps. Start by marking out where you want it to go and add some masking tape. This stops the drill bit from slipping around on the shiny surface of the tile. I'm using a diamond drill bit that has internal wax that keeps the drill bit cool. Start at an angle until it catches, slowly moving the drill bit level. I wouldn't normally drill into the grout lines, it makes for a weaker hold, but this just so happened to be the perfect location for my mirror. Gently tap in some plugs. Use this type for masonry, or you may like to try another style if you're attaching to plasterboard. I'm trying to use whatever I have in the house, so I'm actually using these plasterboard screws. They're not really designed for this, but they will do for now. They're also black, which helps because they blend in. And the final step is to do a little check of your teeths. Now the wall has dried, I need to reinstall this toilet roll holder. They were previously glued on. I do have some other stickers I could use, but I tried these and it just didn't hold. And then its arm fell off. But waste not, want not, it wasn't going to give up that easily. It got 2 new holes in the metal made with the drill bit. Gently filing down the sharp edges. The old sticky pads that didn't work had to go, and things were really looking up for the toilet roll holder. It got to be screwed directly onto the wall with some plasterboard plugs, making it even more secure than it was before. Its hideous silver screws were painstakingly painted by spraying some spray paint onto a page and using a mini brush to paint the screws so they match the background. It wasn't long before it was time to fix the broken arm with this super strength glue. It would surely be the envy of the entire town. And for a while everything looked okay. But wait, just the very next day the arm tragically broke off again. And so that thing went straight in the bin. I had enough at this point. I was done. And the moral of the story is sometimes you put a lot of effort into stuff and it just doesn't work out and it's kind of annoying. I just finished installing this new shelf and it was looking hot. And because of that it was just so obvious how dreadful this window looked. These hinges had caked on paint and glue and muck. I thought it would be an easy fix. I went in with my Dremel, but it was just too close to the wall. I tried paint remover, that didn't work. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to take my window off. Oh my god, this is fun. Really heavy. So that's how we ended up here with my window in my bathtub. But to be honest, I never miss an opportunity to find out how something gets put together. I find it so interesting and I thought you might too. This window is really old and it has never been cleaned. So I really went to town on this. But this is what I really wanted, to repair and replace these hinges. This is a tilt and turn window that opens 2 different ways and it pivots on this bar. So to start my cleanup operation, I filled in this hole with some moldable glue that sets hard. I need to clean all of these hinges. They were so stiff. I started by putting in some lubricant, and after having 0 luck with paint remover, I sanded off this paint, which is slightly outrageous, but here we are. There's 2 metal bars on the back of this hinge and they just gently tap back into the frame and are then secured with some screws. This hinge is what the window pivots on, and the top one has a long hinge arm that allows you to open it forwards and sideways. I wanted to prep these plastic caps to be spray painted. They were super fiddly, so I just took a nail file and that really made the job loads easier. I couldn't believe how lucky I was because I actually found a spray paint the exact colour of this plastic. And after a couple of coats, they were ready to go back on. But first I find out if it was a terrible idea for me to take this window off. Oh no, what if I can't work out how to put it back on? Just kidding. It was absolutely fine. It went back on super easy. This may seem like such an insignificant thing to focus on, but I'm so glad I did it. It looks so tidy now. Thanks for joining me on this bath bathroom revamp follow-along series. Tell me what else you'd like to see in the comments. What DIYs are you struggling with? And follow to be the first to hear about my next project.